Amazing. Welcome everybody to Custom GPTs for Accountants 2024. I'm Hector Garcia, doing these webinars in collaboration with CPE-eCademy. You can access the live slides by using the link that's in the screen. I am also going to literally copy and paste that link into the chat box. That way, if you have a PDF of the live slides, you also have the ability to look at the live slides just in case I do some changes. ChatGPT is a topic that moves really quick. They add new things all the time. I'm doing these webinars in multiple platforms. Sometimes I'm doing repeats of these webinars. And anytime there's something new, I'm going to use these master slides for anything that has to do with custom GPTs in particular. Today's webinar, we're going to talk about a couple topics. One, we're going to talk about the previous 3 ChatGPT sessions at CPAAcademy. If this is your very first training or webinar about ChatGPT, this is not basic stuff. This is advanced stuff, okay? And this is essentially a part 4. And we do have links to the 3 previous parts, so you can watch those recordings. You can watch them in YouTube. I have in my YouTube channel, or you can watch them in CPAAcademy and get the CPE credit with the courses that are on the self-learning CPE process. Then we're going to talk about ChatGPT free versus plus versus team editions. We'll talk about the enterprise edition too. I don't have access to the enterprise because I'm not a big company, but we'll discuss that briefly. Then we'll talk about custom instructions, which is kind of like the mini version of custom GPTs, and it will actually give you good understandings to how context setting works in ChatGPT and custom instructions work in ChatGPT free edition. Then, sort of on the second half of the webinar, we're going to actually build our own custom GPT using the paid edition of ChatGPT. That's either Plus, Team, or Enterprise. Then we'll quickly discuss what are OpenAI's plans to monetize the GPT store. As of the day of this webinar, it hasn't been fully monetized, but I can discuss briefly towards the end on what I've been doing research and what it looks like it's going to be in the long run. So you start thinking about what is the monetization opportunity, what is the commercial opportunity there is for you to build custom GPTs either for other accounting firms or for business owners or for individuals or for other types of businesses. And hopefully your juices will start flowing in your head and these ideas will come out. And lastly, we'll talk about additional resources. So again, in the slides, there's 3 links. You can link to each of the you can click on each of those links. You have access to the previous live slides for part 1, part 2, and part 3. That gets you sort of caught up in like all the basics through intermediate skills that you need to know for ChatGPT in order for this version 4, this part 4, to be super relevant. And you can take them in CPAAcademy for CPE. About myself, I'm a CPA. I practice in Florida. I have a bookkeeping and accounting practice, bookkeeping and tax practice for about 15, 16 years. I'm an advanced QuickBooks Pro advisor. I was named QSP Intuit's Solution Provider Partner of the Year last year. I have a podcast on QuickBooks stuff. I have a YouTube channel, and I also helped found an app that works for QuickBooks Online. But most importantly, there is my email. Anything I don't cover, anything that's not clear, any wish list items for the next, let's call it part 5 of this series, email me and I'll gladly hear your suggestions. I'm going to plug one thing and then get right to it. I built a conference. I have a conference that I built last year. We had an amazing event. It was called Creative Business Models for Accountants. This year has a different theme. It's called Influential Conversations for Accountants. It's going to be in October. It's going to be in South Florida. It's going to be hosted by myself and my brother. And just go to reframe2024.com and use coupon code CPA to get 30% off. That coupon is going to get enabled right at the end of this webinar. So if you're interested in that, do your research, and I hope to see you in October in Hollywood, Florida. Anyway, let's jump right to it. Free versus plus versus team subscriptions. I am going to make the assumption that 90% of you in this webinar already have at least the free version of ChatGPT. There's tons of power there. However, the paid versions have a couple of extra features worth mentioning. First of all, there's something called the ChatGPT 3.5 model and then ChatGPT 4 model. Quick history on this. ChatGPT 3.5 was given the CPA exam questions and it failed. ChatGPT 4 was given the CPA exam questions and it passed. So it's just it's a better model. It's better answering. It gives more accurate answers. There's a lot more nuance to that, but for this crowd, I think that would probably make some sense. Okay. There's also the concept of the context window. The context window is how far in your chat conversation, how far ChatGPT will remember. And the free version has between 2,000 and 4,000 tokens, which roughly it's about, say, 8 to 10 pages worth of text. The plus version can do between 4 and 8,000 tokens, which is somewhere between 15 and we'll say 20 or 25 pages of text. And then the team and the enterprise models are going to have up to 32,000 tokens, which gives you about 50 pages worth of text. So just think about having a long conversation with ChatGPT and telling it something at the very beginning. After you pass so many pages of text, it sort of forgets what was in the top. So basically, it's sort of the moving average per se of data that it can continue to track while you're having a conversation. So the better the model, the larger the context window. And hopefully that makes sense. That's something very difficult to explain anyway. Then also with the plus version and the team version, you have web browsing. So most people know that ChatGPT is limited to data up to, it started with September 2021 and now it's moved to December 2022. And if you want any data that's newer than that, you have to do web browsing. Okay, the plus version actually has data all the way up to April of 2023, and on top of that, it could do web browsing. So you can ask it something like, what celebrity passed away yesterday or today, and it will actually find that information because it can go on the web and find that. You can do image generation with the Plus and Team Edition. You can add the plugins, which is still beta, and I think the plugins are gonna get deprecated because of custom GPTs. You can build your own custom GPT with the paid editions, which is we're gonna go deep into it. And then if you have team or enterprise, you can do what's called team workspaces, and you can share the chats and the GPTs within team members only. So like if you never, ever, ever want anyone to be able to share any of the stuff that's being built inside ChatGPT to the outside world, you can do that with the team and the plus in the team and the enterprise edition. Sorry. And then lastly, private data. So one of the biggest criticisms that ChatGPT had when it first came out, especially in our industry, is, Hector, I'm not going to put a tax return for a client in there. I'm not going to put personal identifiable information. I'm not going to put a financial statement for one of my clients because I don't know if that data is being used to train the model. Well, it turns out, very simple answer, ChatGPT Team and ChatGPT Enterprise does not train their model with your data. So it's 100% private. It's always been secure, but now it's 100% private. So all of a sudden, ChatGPT is going to be very attractive to accounting firms, which obviously never wanted that, the data to be given to ChatGPT to train the model. When you're in ChatGPT and you click on the button to upgrade or to pay for the paid version, you're going to be given two options: the Plus edition at $20 a month, and then the Team edition at $25 a month. But you have to pay for a whole year. Okay, if you actually don't pay for a whole year, it's $30 a month, and it needs a minimum of 2 users. So like obviously there's no I in team, so you need at least 2 people in a team. So you have at least 2 users at $25 a month. So that's $50 a month basically that's going to cost you. And again, the biggest deal in here is no training on your data, so secure data. Now you can actually go into the ChatGPT website and actually read the specific privacy statements where they explain again, we do not train your business data or conversations for our models to learn. So that's, hopefully that should make you feel pretty good about potentially putting client data in a ChatGPT. So then when you upgrade to Team Workspaces, you get a little pop-up that says, hey, this is how it works. It's a little bit different. And essentially, you'll be able to go into a member section and add any team members that you want. Like this is a workspace that I have with my brother, and we actually share ChatGPT as a team. And I can add as many members as I want at $25 a month, paid annually. And then there's a really interesting concept here is if you actually happen to have had the Plus edition and you open a team account, you can actually port that over, merge that over. So any history that you had in the Plus edition actually comes over to the team edition. So that's a pretty cool addition that they added to that, because that happened to me. I was in the Plus edition, I added team, and then I lost all my history, and then I was able to merge it over. Or at least I had the ability to merge it over. I actually didn't merge it over because I wanted to keep both histories, one for work stuff and one for personal stuff. And that's, you can do that too. Now, one thing to add really quickly on the Enterprise Edition, I don't have access to it because I'm a very small firm. We only have like 9 people in our firm. You need at least 150 licenses. It can do what's called unlimited messaging on the Enterprise Edition, which means that you won't have outage during high volume times. Right now, as of today, even with the paid Plus Edition and the paid Team Edition, there will be moments where it says, hey, wait, we have too many users. With Enterprise, that will never happen. You have enterprise level data controls. You actually can't allow chats inside of Enterprise. You can allow outside of the team organization, but you have total control over which ones can and which ones cannot, which is not an issue with the free or plus editions, because the free or plus editions, you could always share it to the outside world. And then the team edition has a little limitation where if you are in team, you cannot share a chat outside of your team members, so only within users of ChatGPT team. And there's all this stuff like SOC 2 compliance and 256-bit encryption. And there's no pricing on the website. You literally have to contact sales and the enterprise sales team. Okay, so let's jump into custom instructions, and then we're going to get out of the slides, go into ChatGPT and talk about custom instructions. Once again, custom instructions is available in the free edition of ChatGPT, and which is going to be using a ChatGPT 3.5. When you do custom instructions, you're going to get significantly different information. And by the way, if you've been on parts 1 to 3 of this webinar, I've talked about custom instructions every single time, and I will continue to do so, because custom instructions is one of the single most important starting points for creating custom GPTs. Okay, you have to understand custom instructions first, understand the value of it and the mechanics of it before you actually you can actually do the custom GPT stuff and understand the workflow. So I'm going to start by clicking on the custom instructions button. Just click on my name. I click on custom instructions, and I want to make sure my custom instructions are off. Okay, so right now they're not enabled, they're off, and I'm going to ask it a question. Okay, so I'm going to ask it a question like, let's just be simple. I'm going to ask it a question like, if I get audited, what will happen? Okay, so I'm going to ask a simple question. I get audited by the IRS, what will happen? So simple question that a layman, a non-accountant would ask, and then ChatGPT will give you a set of answers. Okay, now the set of answers that ChatGPT is giving you is within the context that the audience is anyone. This could be anyone, right? So essentially, ChatGPT is probably going to assume that you are an individual taxpayer, not necessarily a business owner. And it's actually saying, hey, make sure you have a W-2, a 1099, here's the process of examination, et cetera, et cetera. So it does give you, generic information that you would give a layman. And by the way, this is a great blog article for your website, right? I mean, just go over it, read it, make sure it's accurate. This would be an amazing blog article for your website. But I'm going to click on Hector Garcia on my profile, click on custom instructions, and I'm going to turn on custom instructions. And I'm going to specifically go through the stuff that I wrote here, and you can write anything you want. And what you write here really is going to affect how ChatGPT answers. First, we're going to do, it asks you 2 questions. One is, I want to know how to answer your questions. Okay, so here it tells me, here's some things that you can put in here. And again, it's not set in stone. You can put something like, where are you? The other one is, what do you do for a living? Do you have hobbies and interests? What subjects can you talk about for hours? What are some of the goals you have? It's just ideas. You don't have to answer those questions. I actually put, I'm a CPA. I perform compilations, review, and audits. All my answers are going to be formal and meant to be used both my client and third-party users. I need to adhere to standards, especially in GAAP. I also prepare tax returns. So I'm adding this, prepare tax returns and represent taxpayers in front of the IRS. Okay, right? So I'm just adding some additional context here, and that's going to change fundamentally the answer. The other part is, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? Okay, so here's some ideas. It says, do you want it to be formal, casual, long, short? How do you want to be addressed? And should ChatGPT have any opinions, or should it be neutral? So look what I put. I put ChatGPT should stick to facts only, should not be getting creative or interpolating data. Answers should stick to strict interpretation of source materials and given tax advice that is also disclosed with what could be an exception to the rule or circumstances where the facts are incomplete or it's not possible to give a black and white answer. Do not give me any disclaimers about ChatGPT being non-authoritative. I'm just basically, stopping it from being so verbose. Okay, with tax and IRS audit questions, please reference IRS documentation and instructions. Okay, so I can do let's say we can do field audit documentation and form instructions or something like that. Okay, and then up here I can put I am a U.S. based CPA. Okay, so notice how I am constructing and basically designing how I want the custom instructions to work. And again, this is the precursor to custom GPTs. You master this, and then custom GPTs become easier for you. So I'm going to click on save. Okay. Now I'm going to start a new chat. I'm going to take the exact same question. If I get audited by the IRS, what will happen? I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come in here and paste the same thing. Okay. And then I'm going to hit send message. And the answers are going to be significant. Well, they could be different. They could be the same. In some cases, they could be the same. Let's see where it differs. So like right here, I'm going to switch to the other chat. Here it says, if you get audited by the IRS, it means et cetera, et cetera. Audits can be conducted for various reasons, et cetera, et cetera. If I come in here and scroll up, okay, I notice it didn't say the fact that the audits can be done for different reasons. So some of the stuff is still assuming that you know. So it gives me here 5 bullet points, okay? And this is on the context, the one with the context custom instructions. And then on the other one gives me 7 bullet points. For example, it's telling me that there's something called appeals and resolution, whereas in the other one, it's actually not telling me there's appeals and resolutions, maybe just assuming that you know this stuff, okay? Again, maybe possibly not the best example to use. Maybe let's use another example that would be monumentally different, which would be if I take a client to a Taylor Swift concert. Okay, so if I take a client to a Taylor Swift concert, can I deduct it from my business taxes? Okay. Okay, Taylor Swift is spelled correctly, deduct, and then business taxes. Perfect. So I'm going to ask again. Right now, it's got the custom instructions. So I'm going to hit send on that, and then there's my answer. Okay, this might be a little bit more formal than the regular answer, and I'm actually going to go at the same time, take the same exact question, create a new chat. Okay, but this time I am going to remove the custom instructions. So in this second chat, it doesn't answer with custom instructions. So I'm going to hit send on that, and I essentially have two live conversations. So this is the one without the custom instructions. Okay, so I asked that a question. If I take a client to a Taylor Swift concert, can I deduct it from my business tax returns? And then it says, ChatGPT is telling me I'm not a tax professional, but I can offer some general information on this topic. And then it comes in here and says, is there a business purpose? Is there substantiation? Is there there's deductions for entertainment deduction limits? By the way, this is actually wrong in the first place because the deductions, entertainment is technically not deductible. Then there's client relationship, local state regulations. Okay, so there's just generic information in there. If I switch to the first one, the one that had the context window, I have a slightly different answer. For example, it starts with business purpose, substantiation, then it goes to entertainment limitations, and then it goes to direct benefit. Okay, so it changes the answers slightly, and I really welcome you to test this, to try the different context window and ask sort of the same type of tricky questions that a customer will give you. Again, this is the beginning. This is the starting point. Is the custom instructions, and the custom GPTs are actually so much better than the custom instructions. Number one, because they use the ChatGPT 4 model, and second, because we will not only give it custom instructions, we're also going to upload documents, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Okay. All right. So let's talk about custom GPTs. Okay. And again, as I mentioned earlier, custom instructions are the only closest thing to a custom GPT, and you can turn that off and on the fly. Now, the slides contain a step-by-step guide, sort of an index, a cheat sheet that explains what every single button in ChatGPT does, including the old slides, the part 1, part 2, and part 3. You have a complete manual there on how to use ChatGPT. We're going to be focusing on only GPT Store. I'm going to escape out of that, come back into ChatGPT. I'm going to switch to my paid version, which is actually the team version that I have. And then up in the top, I want to make sure that I am on ChatGPT 4, obviously the best model. And as I mentioned earlier, we're limited to 100 messages every 3 hours. And this stuff gets better and better as we go. And again, this ChatGPT 4, it's only available in one of the Plus editions. One of the paid editions, Plus, Team, or Enterprise. I happen to be in Team, okay? I'm going to come here where it says Explore GPTs. And this is essentially what's called the GPT Store. The GPT Store, for now, it's free and it's available to the paid users of ChatGPT. And currently, as of today's date, none of the creators of these custom GPTs get paid. But OpenAI basically made the promise that says, we're going to share revenue with you if you create GPTs and people actually use them. Okay. Of course, probably there'll be a minimum threshold that there has to be X amount of active chats or active users for you to even get paid. I don't know what that threshold is going to be. That has not been announced yet. But if you search any particular thing, let's say, for example, I search IRS. Let's see if anybody built any sort of custom GPT that contains the word IRS. It looks like they didn't. Let's type the word tax. Okay, and then it looks like some people have built a ChatGPT that has the word tax in it. Now, you will see some companies, like this company called Taxable Free, that actually also connect the custom GPTs to their own internal databases. And then you see the custom GPT interact with sort of third parties to the whole GPT process. That's something I haven't gotten into yet. I don't do programming or coding, so I wouldn't know how to show you that. But what I can show you is how you can build a ChatGPT. For example, we can stick with a tax advisor, and we can build our own. So you can test whatever it's out there. Okay. Again, I don't think anybody has built a really good a taxes custom GPT. We might be doing something close to that live here on this webinar, so we'll see. Okay. So I'm gonna click on Create, top right of the screen. Just click on Create, and then I'm creating my first custom GPT. You will notice that there's two buttons. There's the Create button and the Configure button. The Create button is a chat approach to constructing the custom GPT, and the Configure button is more of a menu-based approach of configuring the custom GPT. We can start with the chat approach, or by clicking on Create, and then we can say, I am making a tax preparer advisor. Basically, I have a few new tax preparers in my CPA office, and they ask me, the owner, a lot of dumb questions and distract me. I want this bot to be their first line of defense. Okay, I'm just typing away how I feel. Okay, I might need a therapist too, a different issue altogether. Okay, so I'm gonna So just correct that all together. Am I spelling that correctly? And then press enter. And then ChatGPT here on the left-hand side will essentially start chatting with you and start walking you through, okay, what else does ChatGPT need to make this custom button? Okay, we're gonna wait for that answer. We'll give it a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's gonna start interacting with you, and it's gonna start um, uh, walking you through the process. So here it says, great. Let me zoom in. It says, I'm gonna give this Tax Guide Pro. Do you like this name? Sure, that's fine. Yeah, fine. I'm okay with the name. Okay. So first thing is just basically it does that. Okay. Now, just like we did with the custom instructions, I can now start giving it, hey, let's stick with the facts. Let's talk about forms. Let's talk about instructions. Tell me what to reference. All that stuff, because essentially I want this to be a semi-authoritative guide that we can use. Okay, and again, this is gonna walk you through and ask you for each thing. It will also use AI to build a logo for it. Now you can upload your own logo, and I've tried to like upload the IRS logo. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because it does do copyright checks. But it actually used this calculator on top of a bunch of paper asset. I'm okay with that. So I am fine with that. We can always go back and change all that. Okay. And all right. So now it says, let's refine the context. Okay. So it says, how would you want to make this custom GPT relevant? What kind of scenarios, that sort of thing. So I'm actually going to go and open ChatGPT again, and I'm going to go into the custom instructions and grab that stuff for the custom instructions. That way I'm not sort of retyping stuff in there. Let me switch out to this one and grab the custom instructions, and I'm going to put here this exact text. I like it. Okay, that way I don't have to retype it. So I'm going to go back into my custom GPT. I think I messed up by not saving it. Okay, so let's do this again. Make a tax advisor for my interns in my accounting firm. I messed up by not saving it. I should have saved it. Maybe a good lesson to learn before you start moving around. So I need a tax advisor for my interns in my accounting firm. So they reference this and not ask me. So any question? U.S. based IRS law only, something like that. Okay, and then I'll add the stuff that I copy and pasting, which is ChatGPT should stick to facts only, etc., etc., etc. So we'll send that in there. So it just save me the time of retyping that, and I just pasted that in there. Okay, so we're gonna go through again, little repeat here, because it's gonna go through the process again because I didn't save it. I should have saved it, but now I know. Now I know to save it before I switch screens. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm gonna go into my other browser here, and I'm gonna download an IRS logo, and I'm gonna actually tell it to use that logo instead, and see if it lets me do it. We'll see. We'll have fun with that. Okay. All right. Okay. Still sort of delayed. Also, the magic of having live webinars. So ChatGPT is a little bit delayed. I'm gonna hit stop here for a second, and let me go back and open it again. I'll paste that in there. Okay, it might be one of those situations where it's they have packed servers, people are using it all the time. Maybe all of you are building custom GPTs as we speak, right? So yeah, so let's give it a chance. It's being a little bit delayed with the answers, and let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, So it's just going to give me the answers. Now, I personally, and I think it's good time to comment. I'm personally not a big fan of using the chat method to do this, just because it takes so long, and I have to say yes, fine, or whatever. When you first get started, this is more likely to be the approach that you take. But essentially, once you learn how to do this, then you skip and you go straight to the configure section, and then you do it straight in the sort of manual configuration, so you don't have to chat your way through configuring the custom GPT. So it's generating the picture from AI for me. I wonder if it's going to generate the same picture or a different one. We'll see. Let's give it another second. There we go. Similar picture. Okay. Okay. So we'll take that. Say, nope. Perfect. Okay. And that's it. Like I'll stop chatting with it, and then I'll go into the configure section and add anything else I want to that. So you can always go back and use create to configure, or click on configure, and the configuration section already has the fixed information that's in there. I can also change the name of this. So I can call it Tax Guide Pro by Hector Garcia CPA. And we got IRS tax law advisor for, let's say, interns. Okay, that's fine. And then we're going to come down here in the instructions and say, always give me IRS forms or form instructions and IRS audit or examination field guides, examination field guide instructions as source materials. I think we can also ask it to give us IRC code as source materials too. Okay, IRC source materials works as well, but not as good as actual IRS form instruction. Okay. All right. So we'll finish that. Then when it comes down here, it says conversation starters. Okay. I like to X them out because they're actually pretty interesting. I like to X them out, and then I can just say, I have a tax question. Okay. That would be my conversation starter. Basically, it would be like a button that people can press to get started. Then we have the knowledge portion. So if I don't upload anything, this is strictly going to use its own internal knowledge. I'm going to come back to this and show you what happens when you add actual documentation. I'm actually going to tell it not to use the image generation. We don't need to generate any images with this bot. And I'm also going to tell it not to use the code interpreter. I'm going to have it only do web browsing. Okay. I could also say only browse the web when I prompt it. Okay. And I can also say if you browse the web, give me irs.gov and treasury.gov pages as priority. Okay, now we start getting somewhere, right? We start getting to something that makes more sense to what we would do ourselves professionally. Okay, so that's good enough as a starting point. I'm gonna hit save, and I'm actually gonna click on share anyone with a link. Essentially, I'm making this GPT, I'm making this public. The minute I hit confirm, this becomes public, but only to the people that have the link. And then if I click on everyone, it actually becomes accessible in the GPT store, and eventually I can monetize it. It also uses AI to try to figure out the category that best fits into research and analysis is the best option here. So I'm gonna do anyone with the link, hit on confirm, and then just in case some of you fellow nerds are here with me and want to like look at it live or test it live while I'm doing this, I am going to paste this in the chat box. So I have it pasted in there, and if you happen to have the paid version of ChatGPT, you can actually click on that conversation, open it live in your page, and then you can actually play with it as you go. Okay. However, I'm gonna start now using it. So now I'm gonna start using it. So typically, right, you log into ChatGPT. This is a custom GPT. Still uses the GPT engine and everything, but it's gonna stay within the context of what the GPT is for. So if I ask it a question, I'm just gonna play with this. I don't even know what's gonna say. What color is the sky, or something like that? Something that's not relevant. It might give me the answer, but it might also go back and say, that's not really what the purpose of this custom GPT is, right? It says I'm focusing exclusively on giving tax advice, and that I don't provide general knowledge outside the scope. Now that's awesome, okay? Because that gives you some insight as to like how do we use this? This is not just willy-nilly regular, ChatGPT. This is ChatGPT with a purpose. ChatGPT with a purpose. Okay. All right. So now let's ask it a tax question. So maybe we can ask the same question about what happens if I get audited. So what happens if my client gets audited? What should I do? Again, these are interns that don't know anything, right? So they're gonna be they'll ask you the question and waste half your day on this, or they can start the research in here. Okay, so it actually starts walking you through. If your client is facing an IRS audit, it's crucial to approach the situation with thorough preparation, etc., etc. Here's the steps. Okay, understand the scope of the audit. So exactly what is the IRS auditing? Review the audit notice carefully, gather documentation, etc., etc. Okay, and I could actually go and tell it, what type of information am I expecting from the correspondence or something like that. I can say, what is a typical a mail correspondence audit look like, or something like that. So let's copy this: correspondent audit conducted by mail. Okay, what does a correspondence audit conducted by mail letter look like, or what does it contain? Okay, so essentially, maybe possibly your intern got this letter from the customer. Maybe they think that the letter itself is fake. Okay, and they're trying to see, can I discern whether it has all the components that we're expecting. And then it's walking you through, and it says, okay, it's supposed to have a letter heading, a notice number, taxpayer number, tax year in question, explanation of the issue, request for additional information, response instructions, consequences for not responding, rights of the taxpayer, and contact information. Sounds about right. Okay, so I'm gonna go even further and say, looks like they want to audit 2020 and 2021 meals and entertainment and travel. Okay, so ChatGPT will now, within the context, understanding what you're asking for, will start just giving you advice. Okay, so now it goes back and says, okay, first of all, do we understand what the law was in 2020, 2021? Because it could be different. Okay, and then it says, hey, there is a Consolidated Appropriations Act that allows 100% of the deduction provided in there. Travel expenses, typical 100% deductible if they're ordinary, necessary, and reasonable. What kind of documentation you can have, and then how to prepare for a response. Okay, good starting point. Okay, and then notice that it hasn't yet searched the web and showed me source documents, because I specifically told it, until I tell you to search the web, give me source documentation. So I'm gonna ask it, where is this information in an official government website? Can you search and give me reference? Something like that. Okay, so where's official information on the government website? Give me references. I'll click on send message, and now it's going to do the Bing search. Okay, the famous Bing search, which, by the way, I see a couple of questions. It's a good time to answer. People are asking, what's the difference between ChatGPT, Bing AI, Microsoft AI, Copilot, all that stuff. So ChatGPT is its own thing, and then most of Microsoft stuff Bing or Copilot uses the engine of ChatGPT to work, but Microsoft adds its own context. So it uses so imagine Copilot as being a custom GPT within the purpose of working within the data in the Office suite, okay? Or Bing Search to be a custom GPT that works within the context of only the data that Bing can find in a search, okay? Probably the best way to approach that. So now I asked it the question to check the IRS website, and then it says, okay, we got the Tax and Jobs Act, okay, and then there's an internal revenue release, and then there's a little link there. So if I click on that, it opens up the actual document, and then I can actually click on that, and it goes into the final regulation. What's even more interesting is I can download this document. That's the actual regulation. I can download that, and I'll put it here on the desktop. And then I can actually upload that document and have it query that document as well. So here's more answers, and then I can actually click here, and I can upload the document, and I can put summarize what is in this regulation within the context of what matters to my audit. Again, we're getting very specific, right? We're going down the rabbit hole with ChatGPT. We're having a conversation just like a normal human being would have with their boss, asking them questions about how to move forward. ChatGPT is opening up some stuff about, with some regulations. Then I'm actually taking that regulation to make sure that it has it, and I'm saying, can you interact with the document in itself, okay? And then it's actually going to read the PDF, okay? It's going to search the knowledge, read the PDF. It's going to do a combination of both what's in the ChatGPT and what's in the document, and then it's actually going through and giving you a summary of the regulation within the limited context of the sort of the situation that we put in there. So it says here, generally expenses that are considered entertainment are non-deductible. So like that's in the regulation. It says, okay, business meals are 50% for food and beverages, substantiation requirements. Okay, so the regulations reiterate that it's important to substantiate, an exception to document details exceptions to these rules outlining specific scenarios. Okay, maybe let's do that. Okay, let's go down this rabbit hole. Okay, and actually I can click on the little quotes, and I can say I want to reply to this specific piece of information you gave me, and say list them, something like that. So now it knows that because I quoted that specific message, and I say list those exceptions for me, and then it's going to start going through the process of, when it says searching my knowledge, it's searching the ChatGPT knowledge or any context that I had added it, such as a PDF document. Okay, and then here we go. Here's the list of exceptions that are in the document, outlined in the document. Okay, so that's actually really, really cool, really interesting, and I'm very excited to see what other accountants do with this type of stuff, where they start experimenting with what ChatGPT knows, what the regulations tell me, what the IRS website tells me, how you triangulate all that stuff. Okay, now I'm gonna take it one step further and ask it a very specific question about a publication that the IRS has. So I'm gonna go really, really tricky on this. I'm gonna grab publication 15T, and I haven't tested this. I've not tested this at all. Okay, and I'm gonna go down and pick. Let's say we have this thing. Okay, so we have 2024 wage bracket method table. I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna ask it, how much should I withhold? What is the standard withholding if I make, let's say, $1,000 right here, $1,000 a week on wages? It should give me the answer 44. So I'm gonna go back to the Tax Guy Pro and paste that in there, and I'm gonna say from. Okay, now I'm not telling it what publication it comes from. I'm just writing this here, and then I'm gonna put here weekly period. How much should I withhold in a $1,000 gross weekly paycheck on 01 26 2024. Okay, so I'm actually giving it a little boost by telling it like, where should we find this? Okay, but then my main question is, how much should I withhold with $1,000 gross weekly paycheck? So let's see what it answers. This is without the context. This is it potentially searching just the ChatGPT internal database. Okay, it's good. We generate one more time. It didn't like that question. It quit. It said, I quit. All right, let's try one more time. Okay, there we go. It does. Okay, so it actually is telling me, look, my update in my general knowledge is April 2023. So I don't have access to this information. So I can say, search the web. Okay, and then it's actually going to go out, search the web, maybe find the document. Let's see if it can even find it. But then I can show you how to actually upload the document and say, search it from here. Okay, and again, even so, this document might be a little tricky to read because of the way it's set up. But let's see what it tells me. Okay, it actually is not giving me the answer. It's telling me to go check these tables. Okay, can you check? It's a good one. Let's see if ChatGPT will check for me before it quits. Before it quits on me. Let's see if it can check. So I have a feeling it's going to get stuck and it won't. Okay, so it didn't. It wasn't able to do it. Okay, fine. Now, how do we fix this problem? Okay, let's go and edit this this bot. I'm going to go to edit GPT. So I'm going to go back and edit this. And then what I'll do is I'll upload the document. Okay, so this is my publication 15T. I'll download this. Okay, go back to my custom GPT, click on upload files, upload that document. So I've actually uploaded that document in there. I'm going to add some custom instructions that say, help me calculate withholding. So I'm going to ask it, help me calculate withholding. By the way, this is why I became an accountant. So I was horrible at writing. So help me calculate withholding on paychecks. Okay, so I'm actually including that as a conversation starter. So let me update the GPT. I'm going to click confirm. If you actually have the link and you're playing with the chatbot yourself, go ahead and refresh. Okay, again, I'll go back into the webinar platform and I'll paste that in there as a Q&A. So I'm just going to put it as a question. Okay, so I'm putting it as a question. You should be able to just click on that link and go straight to it. Okay, so now I'm going to view the GPT, and then I'm going to start with the prompt, which is help me calculate withholding on paychecks. So I'll click on that. Okay, and then basically it'll say, okay, what do you want to do with this? Okay, now it hasn't yet looked into the documentation. It hasn't yet looked at that. Hopefully you'll do it once I ask the actual question. Okay, it actually knows, which is really interesting. It says, this information is in the publication 15T. Now, I don't know if it knows this because I uploaded it or because the general knowledge knows this. So that's interesting. But you could clearly tell that before it couldn't know. So I'm going to say $1,000 married filing jointly. I would say $1,000 gross pay weekly, married filing jointly. Gross pay weekly, married filing jointly. No additional withholding on W4. I think probably all we need to know. Okay, gross pay weekly. Okay, perfect. Let's search. Let's see what it does. Ayuda aquí, por favor. Should put some background music for while we wait. Let's see what happens. Okay. We're just waiting, patiently waiting. Okay. Almost there, almost there. Almost there. It gets to 99% and just keeps you waiting there. Let's just wait for that. Okay. It's a pretty big let's go back here. It's a pretty big document, so maybe that's why 70 pages. Let's see. Let's see. It was off. It was off. Interesting. Find the range, in this case, 1,000 falls between 993 and 1462. That's interesting. I wonder if I was off myself. Okay, there's weekly. Now we have manual payroll systems. I wonder if there's a different table that is not manual payroll systems. Maybe it says something else. Let's see, semi-monthly. We were doing weekly, right? Weekly, bi-weekly, weekly, weekly. Okay, maybe I can tell it that there's two. Maybe the formatting itself. So I would say 995. Let's see if I can. Let's see if I help it a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna say this is wrong. I looked at the table for from to. Let's just look at it one more time. Mary filing jointly, and it's $44. So I'm gonna see if I can teach it. I can essentially teach it, and it showed $44. Can you check this again and learn from the pattern of how to read the document? Let's see if we can give it this sort of instructions. Okay. And essentially, if this works, then I would go back to the custom instructions per se of the general GPT, and I would say, here's an example. So when you're looking for this information, you know how to find it. I don't know yet if this can find it, but this example just occurred to me on the moment. Like I'm just trying to like show you, like when you guys do this live, this is the type of stuff that you'll be dealing with. Like you'll keep testing sort of the waters in terms of what it can do, what it can't do. You'll be uploading different documents per se, and try to see which one gives you the best possible information. To be fair, looking at charts like that, it's a lot harder than just looking for regular text. So if that doesn't work, what I'll do is I'll go search for just text within it. Okay, we're almost done here. We're almost ready to wrap it up. Okay, so let's wait to see what this one will do. And we gotta be a little bit more patient. Okay, webinar is almost done, and again, regardless of what happens towards the end of the webinar, make sure that you have access to that GPT yourself, so you can play with it. What I'll do, because the CPA Academy people will probably ask me to wrap it up. But here in the resources, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bot we were testing live. Okay, and then so in the slides, I'm also going to put the chat itself. So as long as you have access to the slides, there's the link, and you can play with it yourself, and you can test it yourself. Again, we can't. So okay, good. So it actually couldn't find it, so I would have to play with it some more. But this gives you a really good idea and a good starting point to how it would be. Again, we only have an hour, so with that being said, I'll wrap it up. Again, my email is in the slides. Jason, take it away. You can wrap up the webinar. Thank you very much for giving me the extra seconds there. So there's my email. Anything else you need, just contact me.